D20, and today we're going to be talking about arguably the most important thing in Dungeons & Dragons and most RPG games. And you might be thinking, is that storytelling or imagination? Is that character development or making sure that the party are having a good time? And those are some really creative ideas, so well done. But to put it bluntly, you're wrong. Because the most important thing of all is dice. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get rolling. So in this video, we're going to talk about what the dice are, what they're used for, where you can buy them, how much they cost, and we're going to try and answer the age-old question: how many should you have? So let's start with what the dice are. So a full set of Dungeons & Dragons dice, also known as polyhedral dice, has 7 different dice in it, all different. And we name them by saying how many sides they have with a D before it. So for example, a D6 or a D20. So if someone asks you to roll 2d4, they mean roll 2 4-sided dice. We're going to go through every dice in this set and explain what they're used for. So we'll start with something that you probably recognise, which is the D6. It has 6 sides and it's a cube. It's pretty important even before you start playing D&D. Every dungeon master or game master has a different way of determining your statistics, but a popular way is to roll 4d6 and take the 3 highest rolls to make a stat. So you'd do this 6 times total. Once you're playing the game, D6s can be used for a number of things, like damage die for weapons and spells. It can be used to regain hit points for a short rest for some classes, like the sorcerer or the wizard. And it's also used for a bard's inspiration or rogue's sneak attack. Next, I'll explain the most commonly used die in the game, the D20. It has 20 sides to it, and honestly, if you can only bring 1 dice to a game, let it be this one. The short explanation of the D20 is that you roll it to figure out if you can do something or not. Most of the time, you will add modifiers to it, which you'll find on your character sheet. Once you've got the result, it's the DM's decision as to whether you succeed or fail. Usually they will set a DC, also known as a difficulty class, to see if you can hit that or go above it, and succeed in what you're trying to do. The D20 is used for attack rolls, saving throws, ability checks, skill checks, basically everything in the game, so don't forget this one because you really won't get far without it. Next we have a die that when I first started playing Dungeons & Dragons really surprised me, because I didn't think there would be anything smaller than the D6, but here we are, this is the D4. And when you roll it, you don't see the result on the top like you do with the other die, you see it on every side at the top of the pyramid. So there's actually 3 4s on there, but you will obviously see it from every angle, that the result is 4 or whatever you rolled. The D4 does commonly come in this pyramid shape, but does also come in some other weird shapes that I don't have, so here's a photo of someone else's. Now the D4 can be used for weapons that do small amounts of damage, like the dagger or the dart, but it's also used for healing, for spells like Healing Word or a healing potion. The most important thing you need to remember about this die is to not leave it on the floor, because if you tread on it, it will hurt. Anyway, let's move on to my favourite die. This is the D8. It looks like 2 pyramids kind of stuck together at the base, or kind of a diamond as well. This is another common damage die for weapons that are a bit bigger, like a longbow or a warhammer, and many others, as well as a damage die for some higher level spells, and it's also the hit die for most classes of average strength, so like the druid, the cleric, and the rogue, to name a few. Next we have the D12. So this dodecahedron shaped die is not as crucial as others, but the shape is really pretty, so she's forgiven for being a bit useless. I'm kidding, of course. It has its few uses, like the hit die for a strong barbarian, or for some heavy weapons like the great axe. It might have some other uses, but I'll be honest, if it does, I haven't explored them yet, because I genuinely don't use these a lot. And I think I want to do the last 2 together, because they are the same shape and size, except they have different numbers on them. So here we have the D10 and the D100, Now the D10 is used a lot by players, but the D100 is almost exclusively used by DMs in typical games. Of course, this isn't the case in our game if you've seen Ravis, our new campaign. Hey, have you seen Ravis yet? If not, then you should go watch it. You'll notice in our campaign we use both of these to make a percentage so that we can roll them for our crit table, which is a homebrewed thing. You need to go watch the campaign to understand it. So the D10 rolls 1 to 10, and it's used as a damage die for things like the heavy crossbow, and is also the hit die for the fighter class. The D100, however, rolls multiples of 10 through from 10 to 100, and is usually used to make a percentage with the D10. Even if none of that made sense to you, just remember, it's your specific DM's choice as to what the dice are used for. As with most of the rules in D&D, rules are meant to be broken, especially by the Dungeon Master. So, Rachel, I hear you say, where can I buy some of these beautiful dice and how much will they cost me? Well, let me tell you, because as the owner of over 300 dice, I think I have the authority to tell you that it's okay to splash out on these. I mean, they're not exactly breakable, at least I haven't managed to break any yet, so I think they're worth it because they last ages, and besides, some of them are really, really pretty. Usually they will come as a set of 7, or sometimes 6, as not all sets include the D100, but you can also buy them individually if you prefer to have some mismatch sets, or more of some type than others. Best thing you can do is go to your local gaming store and see what they've got. My favourite gaming store used to have this entire barrel of dice with just bags next to it like pick-a-mix sweets, and you'd fill it up and they'd weigh it like in a candy store. The most popular brand of dice that seemingly pops up in every gaming store and online everywhere is called Chessex, but they're not your only option. There are a lot of people that make handmade ones on Etsy and other websites like that, so if you want to support your small businesses, then I would encourage you to do so. Your typical plastic set of dice will cost you around the £10 mark, and I think that's about the equivalent to $12. Obviously some stores might charge a bit more or less, but it just depends on where you're buying them. Of course, there are some more fancy dice if you want to spend a bit more money. You can get metal ones, wooden ones, and you can even get some made out of gemstones, and you can get some made out of meteorites. I mean, you'd have to pretty much remortgage your house to be able to afford it, but you can literally get space rocks made into dice. But Rachel, I hear you cry out, I can't afford all of these dice. And as sad as that makes me feel, there are other options. So, for example, if you've seen our campaign, hey, have you seen our new campaign Ravis? If not, then you should go watch it. You will see that we use an online dice roller. We use a platform called Roll20, which is also really helpful for battle maps. And we also use D&D Beyond for our character sheets and this really cool Chrome extension called Beyond 20, which when you link all of these things up means you just have to press the thing on your character sheet that you want to roll for and it just does it, which is really great. Obviously there are loads of options for websites and even mobile phone apps, but you don't have to spend loads of money on physical dice. Okay. I know that I promised you an answer to this age-old question, how many sets of dice should you have? But to be honest, there's not really a right answer. Some people have one set of dice and that's enough for them, and I mean, if they want to roll their 1d6 8 times over to get their fireball damage, then so be it, that's their choice. But I must admit, I have a certain amount of pleasure in rolling 8 different die all at once to get my damage. So I guess you don't need loads of every dice, but to be honest, even saying that makes me kind of sad, because I mean, listen to this. That is such a good noise, and look how pretty they are. So these ones have elven writing on them, and these ones actually look like they have bubbles in them. Oh, where's my puzzle piece one?
8 hours later.
So to be honest, nothing is more satisfying than the clickety-clack of the little math rocks, but I guess not everyone has this obsession with having a horde of them like I do. Maybe I'm like a dice dragon, and I just need my horde. Anyway, the answer is just have as many dice as it takes to make you happy. And if that's one set, then you're a minimalist, and I applaud you for having the willpower to hold back when you see those lovely ones on the shelf. If you need a new set every time you get a new character, then so be it. If you need 15 d20s just in case one of them defies you and they have to go in the dice jail, then great. Have 15 d20s. If you need 500 d4 so you can lay them out on the floor so that no one can come in your room, then I think you're evil and you need to be stopped. And if you have like 10,000, then I also applaud you, because I know I've spent a lot of money, and that's a lot. In fact, I think you might have more of a problem than I do. Anyway, I need to stop myself ranting about dice forever, because I could go on for hours, but I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you learned something. If you want to learn more about playing D&D or managing a D&D game, then go and check out our help videos. And I don't know if I've mentioned it yet, but we have a new campaign out. It's called Ravis: The Lost World, and it's such a great story. We are having so much fun playing it. Liam's doing great as a DM, and it's a good example of seeing all of the things you're seeing in these help videos in play. So go watch it. There's no excuse. Go and watch it now, right now. So remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you want to learn more about D&D, and as always, roll well. This one looks like a lollipop.